I never thought humiliation could sound this sexy. One moment I was running from a stray basketball. The next, I was face first against someone's chest that felt like it had been carved by divine regret. "Watch where you're going." A low, amused voice murmured above my head. And that's when I heard Itha's voice, deep and sharp with memory. I froze, recognizing it instantly. No way. Ethan Carter. My high school basketball captain. The same guy I'd secretly written 100 unsent letters to. The same guy who dated my best friend before disappearing to college with a scholarship and a smile that wrecked every heartbeat in a 5-mile radius. Now he was here, in the flesh, holding me like gravity had made up its mind. And then, just to make sure I'd never recover, he leaned closer, smirking, his breath warm against my ear. "Wanna try kissing my ex?" I shoved him away before my heart could combust. "Still full of yourself, huh?" I muttered, brushing invisible dust off my jacket. Ethan laughed. That laugh, the one that used to fill locker rooms and daydreams. "You still blush the same," he said softly, eyes searching my face like he was trying to find the version of me he'd left behind. It had been 6 years. 6 years since high school ended. Since I, Noah Reyes, promised myself I'd never step foot in this cursed town again. But my father's heart attack changed everything. I came back to help at the family diner, just for a while. I didn't expect ghosts to walk in the door wearing old jerseys and heartbreak. Ethan leaned on the counter the next morning, ordering coffee like it was some kind of peace treaty. "You still make the pancakes?" he asked, flashing that infuriating grin. I rolled my eyes. "You still flirt with people you hurt?" He paused, the grin fading. "Fair." The days passed, and somehow Ethan kept showing up. Sometimes for coffee, sometimes to help fix the leaky roof, sometimes just to sit in silence while I worked. He was quieter now, different. The once cocky captain carried something heavier beneath his skin, something guilt-shaped. One evening, the diner was empty except for us. Rain tapped against the windows, soft and persistent. Ethan was at the jukebox, flipping through old tracks when he spoke without turning around. "I didn't leave because I wanted to," he said. "The scholarship came with a condition. Full dedication, no distractions. And I was afraid you'd be one." My stomach twisted. "So I was a distraction?" He turned then, eyes raw. "You were everything. That was the problem." Silence. The jukebox clicked, and a slow jazz tune filled the air, wrapping around us like smoke. Ethan took a cautious step closer. "Noah, I thought I was doing the right thing. But walking away from you was the biggest mistake I've ever made." I laughed bitterly. "You dated my best friend, Ethan." He flinched. "Yeah, I was stupid. I thought if I could convince myself I wanted her, it'd kill what I felt for you. But it didn't. It never did." The storm outside cracked open the sky. Inside, my chest cracked too. That night I couldn't sleep. His words replayed over and over, tangled between regret and something dangerous hope. I went outside, barefoot, standing under the flickering streetlight where we first kissed all those years ago, a kiss that was supposed to be a joke, a dare after senior prom. Only it wasn't. Not for me. Ethan found me there, like he'd been waiting all along. "You remember this spot?" he asked quietly. I nodded. "You laughed after, said it didn't mean anything." He took a step closer. "I lied." I swallowed. "You're really good at that." His hand brushed mine, tentative, trembling. "Let me try being honest now." And for the first time, I saw him not the golden boy, not the captain, but the man who'd carried years of what-ifs in his heart. He whispered, "I missed you every damn day." The rain started again, soft and forgiving. And when his lips found mine this time, it didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like coming home. But love, of course, has bad timing. 2 days later, his ex, yes, the ex, Mia, showed up at the diner. She was still as radiant as ever, her presence stirring the dust of old memories I'd rather keep buried. "Ethan," she said, her tone icy sweet, "you forgot to mention you were seeing him again." He blinked, caught off guard. "Mia, it's not, oh, don't explain," she cut in, eyes flicking toward me. "I should have known." He always looked at you like that. I stood frozen behind the counter, heat crawling up my neck. Mia smiled faintly, but there was sadness there too. Just don't hurt him again, Ethan. Some people don't get back up the second time. When she left, silence swallowed the room. Ethan looked at me, guilt written across his face. Noah, I held up a hand. Don't. Not yet. That night I drove out to the old basketball court, the same one from our high school days. Now cracked and overgrown. The bleachers were rusted, the backboards broken. But standing there, memories came flooding back. Ethan's laughter, the cheers, the secret glances no one else noticed. He found me again because of course he did. I keep coming back here, he said. Every time I don't know what I'm doing, I end up here, hoping you'll be too. Why? I asked quietly. He sighed. Because this is where I realized I loved you. Something in me snapped, but not in the way it used to. It wasn't anger anymore. It was understanding, that messy, painful kind that makes your chest ache and your eyes sting. Then why didn't you fight for me? I asked. He looked up at the empty hoops, voice trembling. Because back then, I didn't know how. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of 6 lost years lift, bit by bit. We can't undo the past, Ethan, I said softly. But maybe we can stop letting it undo us. He smiled faintly. Is that your way of saying there's still a chance? I shrugged. It's my way of saying buy me pancakes tomorrow, and we'll see. He laughed, that same laugh that once broke me, now somehow stitching me back together. As the morning sun rose, the court glowed gold again. 2 silhouettes stood facing each other, one holding a basketball, the other a heart still learning how to trust. Maybe we were both broken, but for the first time we were broken together. And sometimes that's how love starts again. The next morning, the diner was packed, but all I could see was him. Ethan sat by the window, hair still damp from his morning run. Sunlight pouring over him like the universe was showing off. He caught me staring, of course. The smirk that followed was infuriatingly gentle. What? I asked, trying to hide the flush creeping up my neck. Nothing, he said, sipping his coffee. Just trying to figure out if you're real this time. I rolled my eyes. You say that like I'm a ghost. He met my gaze, serious now. You kind of are. I've been haunted by you for years. That one hit harder than I wanted it to. I turned away, pretending to wipe the counter, but my hands were shaking. Outside, the world went on, cars passing, the bell above the door jingling, but between us, time felt stuck. Later that afternoon, Ethan offered to drive me home after my shift. His car smelled like pine and old dreams. Music hummed softly from the speakers, an old Coldplay song that made everything hurt a little more. I've been meaning to ask, I said, staring out the window. Why'd you really come back? He hesitated. My dad's health. I wanted to be closer to home for a while. Coaching part-time at the high school. Coaching basketball? He smiled faintly. What else? Still chasing that hoop dream, huh? He glanced at me. No. This time I'm chasing something else. The air thickened. My heart didn't trust my lungs anymore. Ethan. He stopped the car in front of my house but didn't move to open the door. Instead, he turned toward me, eyes dark and searching. Tell me something, he said. If I hadn't left, if I'd stayed, would we have had a chance? I looked at him, really looked at the man he'd become. The years had softened him, but his eyes still held that spark, the same one that once made my 16-year-old heart race like it was late for something holy. Yeah, I said quietly. We would have ruined each other in the best possible way. He laughed softly, and for a moment, it felt like no time had passed at all. A week later, I went to see one of his practices. I told myself it was curiosity. It wasn't. The gym smelled of sweat and nostalgia. Ethan's voice carried across the court, firm, patient, magnetic. Watching him coach was like watching him breathe, natural, effortless. All right, hustle back, he called out to the team. Then his eyes flicked up, locking with mine through the glass. He smiled, and damn it, I smiled back. After practice, he tossed a ball toward me. You still shoot like a scared freshman? Worse, I said, catching it one-handed. Haven't played in years. He walked closer, spinning the ball between his palms. Then let me remind you. We started to play, if you could call it that. He missed on purpose, just to tease. I scored once pure luck, and he acted like it was a national tragedy. When I tripped again, he caught me, again. And this time I didn't move away. His hands rested on my waist a moment too long. The gym lights hummed overhead. The world felt quiet. You know, he murmured. You used to blush every time I touched you. I still do, I said before my brain could stop me. His breath hitched just enough for me to hear it. Then he kissed me. Not like before. Not tentative, not apologetic. This one was deeper, hungrier, full of years of what-ifs and I'm sorries. And I kissed him back because I was tired of pretending I didn't want to. We didn't talk about it afterward. We just existed in this weird, beautiful in-between, not lovers, not strangers. I'd find excuses to visit the gym. He'd find excuses to visit the diner. People started to notice. My dad, of all people, cornered me one night as I was closing up. So, he said casually, wiping his hands, you and Ethan Carter. Friends again. Huh. I froze. We're catching up. He chuckled. Son, that boy's been catching up to you since he was 17. I wanted to protest, but the way Dad said that boy with a kind of tired fondness shut me up. Later that night, Ethan came over with a six-pack and that crooked grin that meant trouble. We sat on my porch, the summer air thick with fireflies and unsaid things. He looked at me after the second beer, eyes soft. You ever think about leaving again? Every day, I said honestly. But lately, less. He nodded. Then I'm glad I came back. I turned to face him. You could leave again, you know, when your dad gets better, when the season ends. He shook his head. Not this time. Something inside me wanted to believe that. Something inside me was terrified too. We fell into a rhythm: morning coffee, evening basketball, midnight confessions whispered between laughs. He told me about the loneliness of college, about pretending to date people just to feel normal. I told him about the men I never let close enough, the ones who always fell short of what I once had with him. It wasn't perfect. Some days we argued about the past, about the future, about the line we kept pretending didn't exist. But there were moments, there were moments where it felt like the world had finally stopped fighting us. Like when he helped me repaint the diner's back wall and ended up with blue paint on his cheek. Or when he sang terribly off-key while cleaning up after closing. Or when he fell asleep on my couch, his head resting against my shoulder like he'd never learned how to sleep anywhere else. Those moments were dangerous. They made me believe again. Then came the letter. It arrived on a Tuesday, crisp envelope, official seal. Ethan's name printed neatly on top. He found it in his mailbox after practice, and I saw the way his face changed. What is it? I asked. He hesitated, holding it out. Offer. Assistant coach position at a college in Seattle. Seattle, 2,000 miles away. He tried to smile. It's a good thing. Huge step forward. I swallowed hard. When do they need an answer? End of the week. The silence between us stretched thin and sharp. Finally, I said, congratulations. He looked at me. That's it. What do you want me to say, Ethan? Don't go? Throw away your dream for me. He clenched his jaw. You are my dream, Noah. Should have sounded sweet. It just hurt. For the next few days, we avoided each other, both pretending not to count the hours. The diner felt quieter, emptier. Even the town seemed to know we were holding our breath. Then Friday night, he showed up again. No smile this time, just determination. I turned it down, he said. I stared at him, stunned. You what? I turned it down. I'm staying. Ethan, that's insane. This is your career. He stepped forward. You think basketball's my future? It's just a game, Noah. You're my life. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to shake him. I wanted to kiss him. You can't just give up everything for me, I said, voice breaking. I'm not giving up anything. I'm choosing. You'll regret it. He smiled sadly. I already regret every year I spent without you. He kissed me, then desperate, raw. like he was trying to memorize the shape of my soul before the universe changed its mind again. And I kissed him back because loving him had always been a losing game, and I didn't care about winning anymore. When we finally pulled apart, I whispered, "You're an idiot." He grinned. "You say that every time." The next morning, I found him sitting outside the diner with a basketball resting between his knees. "Couldn't sleep?" I asked. "Didn't want to." He tossed me the ball. "One more game before the day starts." We walked to the court, the same one where everything had started, cracked and quiet in the early dawn. "Loser buys breakfast?" he teased. I nodded. "Prepare to starve." He laughed, dribbling lazily. "Still all talk, Reyes." But then something happened. As the sun rose, golden and forgiving, I felt at peace. The kind that doesn't come from winning, but from surviving. We played until our lungs burned and our laughter echoed across the empty field. And when the ball rolled to a stop, we just stood there, breathing, smiling, alive. Later, sitting on the bleachers, sweat drying on our skin, he reached over and took my hand. "You know," he said quietly, "maybe life isn't about the dreams we chase. Maybe it's about the ones that find us when we stop running." I leaned against him, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "You always did have a way with words." He smirked. "Only when I'm trying to impress someone. Then keep trying." He did. But as the weeks passed, life crept back in responsibilities, doubts, whispers from people who didn't understand. Some said it was just a phase. Some said Ethan was throwing his life away. Some said I was the reason he'd fallen from grace. He never said anything back. He didn't have to. His silence was defiance enough. But I saw it wearing on him, the strain behind his smile, the tension in his shoulders. One night, after another round of small-town gossip reached us, I said, "You don't have to fight this battle alone." He looked at me, eyes tired but soft. "I'm not. I've got you." "Yeah," I said, trying to believe it. "You do." Still, something inside me twisted, fear, maybe, or love disguised as worry, because I'd been here before, and I knew what it felt like to lose him. That night, I dreamed of the court again, of us at 17, laughing under floodlights, the world too big to care. And when I woke, I knew the story wasn't done. But it was about to change. Ethan didn't come by the diner for 2 days. That was unusual. Day 1, I told myself he was just busy. Day 2, I told myself to stop checking the door every time the bell rang. By the evening of the 3rd, I was driving to his place, heart pounding like I'd swallowed a thunderstorm. His front porch light was off. Through the window, I could see him sitting on the couch, head in his hands, the TV playing something he wasn't watching. I knocked softly. He looked up, eyes red, like he hadn't slept. When he opened the door, the air between us felt heavy with all the words we hadn't said. "Hey," I said. "Hey." He stepped aside to let me in. The house was quiet, too quiet. "You want to tell me what's going on?" He hesitated, then handed me his phone. An email glowed on the screen, the Seattle offer again, but this time from the head coach himself. They'd doubled the salary, added housing, and beneath that, "We'd still love to have you on board. Think it over." I stared at it for a long time. "You didn't tell me," I said. "I didn't know how. Are you going to take it?" He looked at me, and I could see the storm in his eyes. "I don't know. I meant what I said. I don't want to leave you. But this could change everything." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, it could." Silence stretched. He ran a hand through his hair. "I hate this, Noah. Every choice feels like losing something." I took a deep breath. Maybe it's not about choosing. Maybe it's about trusting that we'll find our way back no matter what. He looked up. "You think we could survive that distance?" I smiled faintly. "We survived 6 years of silence. I think we'll manage." That night we didn't fight. We didn't cry. We just sat on the couch, his head resting against mine, breathing the same air. He whispered, "If I go, will you wait for me?" I answered, "If you stay, will you forgive yourself?" Neither of us had an answer that night. But sometimes love doesn't need one. A week later he left. Not with a dramatic goodbye or a movie-worthy kiss at the airport. Just a quiet drive to the station. A long hug that felt like it could outlast time. And a promise whispered against my hair. I'll come back for you. And then he was gone. The first few weeks without him were brutal. The diner felt emptier than ever. Every coffee cup I handed out felt like a countdown. But slowly, life found its rhythm again. I threw myself into work, into rebuilding the diner, into sketching late at night when sleep wouldn't come. He called when he could, sometimes short calls, sometimes hours-long talks about everything and nothing. The sound of his voice became my favorite habit. He told me about the team, about the pressure, about the nights he missed the smell of coffee and pancakes more than air. And every time he said, "I miss you," I heard the unspoken truth behind it. I love you. Months passed. Seasons changed. Then one day, out of nowhere, the local news ran a piece. Former high school star Ethan Carter leads Seattle's college team to championship finals. The diner crowd went wild. My dad clipped the article and taped it to the wall beside the register. "That's your boy," he said with a wink. I smiled. He's not mine. But deep down I hoped he still was. 3 months later, he proved it. It was a Saturday morning, the diner halfway through the breakfast rush. I was refilling coffee when the bell above the door rang, and there he was. Sunburned, exhausted, holding a duffel bag, and smiling like he'd just won something far more important than a trophy. I froze. So did everyone else. "Ethan Carter," someone shouted. "The champ." The whole room cheered. But he wasn't looking at them. He was looking at me. And when our eyes met, I swear the noise faded until all I could hear was the sound of my own heartbeat. He crossed the room in 3 long strides. I whispered, "You're supposed to be in Seattle." He grinned. I told them I had unfinished business. Before I could react, he pulled me into a hug so fierce it knocked the air out of me. The room erupted again, laughter, clapping, whistling, but none of it mattered. For the first time in a long time, everything made sense. Later, when the diner finally quieted down, we sat in the booth by the window, the same one he used to claim as his spot. "So," I said, smiling, "you really gave up a championship career to come home?" He laughed. "I didn't give it up. I just hit pause. They offered me a remote coaching role. More freedom. Less running from the things I actually care about." I raised an eyebrow. "And those things are?" He reached across the table, taking my hand. "You, this place, the life we were too scared to build." I stared at him for a long time, letting the words settle like sunlight through fog. "Ethan," I said softly, "I'm not the same kid you left behind." He smiled. "Good. I fell for you then. I'm falling for who you are now." That night, we walked to the old court again. It looked different, somehow cleaner, maybe because of the city repairs, or maybe because we'd finally stopped looking at it through regret. He tossed me the ball. "One last game." I laughed. "You say that every time. This one's for real." We played until the stars came out, until laughter turned to breathless joy, and I couldn't tell if I was sweating or crying or both. When I missed the last shot, he caught the rebound and said, "That means I win." "Yeah," I asked, stepping closer. "What do you win?" He smirked. "This." And then he kissed me slow. Sure, the kind of kiss that doesn't demand or apologize. The kind that feels like living. The next morning, the whole town seemed different. People waved, smiled. Some whispered. Sure, but there was something new in their eyes. Acceptance, maybe. Curiosity. Hope. At the diner, an older couple left a note on their receipt. "Love is love. Glad you two found yours." I showed it to Ethan, and he just smiled, that quiet, content smile of his. "I think," he said, "we're finally home." Months turned into a year. We fixed up the court together, repainted the lines, replaced the hoops, even convinced the town to reopen it for kids' games. It became something beautiful again, not a reminder of what we lost, but a symbol of what we built. Ethan started a youth basketball program, free for underprivileged kids. He called it Second Chances. The first time he handed a ball to a shy 12-year-old who reminded me of him, I realized something. Maybe that's what love really does. It heals the part of you that used to break others. As for me, I kept the diner running, expanded it into a small cafe with art on the walls. My art, finally. Sometimes, after closing, I'd look up at the drawings of the court, the lights, the two figures in the middle, and I'd smile. Because I didn't have to imagine anymore. He'd come up behind me, wrap his arms around my waist, kiss the back of my neck, and whisper, "You still draw us taller than we are. Artistic liberty," I'd say. "Liar," he'd laugh. And every scar, every wrong turn would feel worth it. One night, about a year later, we hosted a charity game on that same court. The bleachers were packed, the air full of laughter and music. Halfway through the game, during a timeout, Ethan pulled me to center court. The crowd cheered, thinking it was just for fun. Then he pulled something small and silver from his pocket. My heart stopped. "No," I whispered, tears already burning my eyes. "Yes," he said, smiling. "Don't freak out. It's not what you think." He held up the key, not a ring. "A key. This is to the house by the lake," he said. "You know, the one with the crooked porch and the awful curtains? I bought it." I blinked. "You what?" "I'm not asking for forever," he said. "I'm asking for breakfasts, and late-night talks, and days that start with you. Move in with me, Noah." The crowd went wild, cheering like we just scored the winning point. And me? I couldn't stop smiling. I took the key and whispered, "You always did love dramatic gestures." He grinned. "You always did say yes to them." And when I kissed him under the floodlights, surrounded by the town that once doubted us, it didn't feel like rebellion anymore. Felt like peace. Sometimes, late at night, when the lake's reflection ripples through our window and he's asleep beside me, I think about the first time I fell literally into his arms. How I froze. How scared I was to believe him. How every road since then led right here, to this quiet life that fits us perfectly. He stirs, half awake, mumbling, "You're thinking too loud again." "Sorry," I whisper. He opens one eye, smiling lazily. "You still owe me that breakfast." And I laugh because somehow, after everything, we made it. Not a perfect ending, just ours. Epilogue: years later, when the town built a new basketball court, they hung a plaque near the bleachers. It read, "For those who fall, get back up and find love waiting when they do." Dedicated to Ethan Carter and Noah Reyes. And every time kids played there, laughter echoing against the evening sky, I could almost hear his voice beside me again, teasing, soft, eternal. "Wanna try kissing my ex?" And I'd whisper back, smiling, "He's not my ex anymore." Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.